looking for respect nationwide.
What is going on, Sooner Nation? Thank you all for tuning into another episode of the Barry and Mack Show. As always, myself, Barry, personal trainer, sports forms coach out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and alongside me, former Sooner wide receiver, 2000 national champ, Mr. Damian Mackey. How are we doing this midnight oil burning evening, D-Mack?
Be in them after dark, baby. Be in them after dark.
Facts tonight, man.
Takes us back to the OG days, right? Doing well, man. Excited about the game tomorrow, early game. This is a game that's going to test our will and see how we manage success, how we manage being a favorite, how we manage high expectations. It's going to be fun. Excited about that. Obviously, today I dropped the pre-order, so I'm doing pre-orders on my book, guys. In fact, I think it's in the description or something here. Barry's better at that stuff than me, guys. But I finished a book. It's called Crimson Red October, A Story of Sooner Greatness. It has 10 excerpts and stories about that season from a very direct perspective. I've had a lot. I didn't even tell you this, Barry, but I had a lot of my teammates read it, and they were like, "Bro, how do you remember that much?" And,
wow.
So like the conversations, the X's and O analysis. If you guys click on the link, there's a whole landing page, and people did all kind of bells and whistles that I could never do on my own. But there's 2 excerpts there, and you get a chance to read just the type of reading it is. It always just brings me back to that magical part of my life. It feels surreal now, but excited about that. My goal is to sell 10,000, man. So let's we got work to do. I'm gonna do some marketing and some Christmas stuff, and first 200 books. I think we did 101 books so far. First 200 books I'm gonna sign and send out personally. So excited about that. I'm excited about the game tomorrow. Excited about what the Sooners are doing thus far. We are not perfect. We have our warts. We got things we need to work on, but needless to say, man, it feels good to be in November with championship caliber games. Shout out to Holly. Holly's good people. She's on the pod. She says I'm gonna. Oh, okay. I see. Gotcha. I thought she said she wants a hello. So anyway, yeah, let's see if we can add Brent to the Killer Bees. OU is known for having coaches whose names start with B. Be dynamic. So let's see if we can get Brent Venables into that community.
Yeah, man. And tomorrow, this game against Missouri, it almost feels like a brand new season in and of itself. And not to reference the 2000 year, but you guys had sort of seasons within that season, right? You had the early part of the year, the non-conference, and really it seems like for me as a fan, a spectator, a young fan watching, Kansas was kind of that line in the sand of after the Kansas game, which was a tougher game for you guys. I don't know if there's any excerpts about the KU game in there.
Oh, it's in there. That's crazy you say that, bro. So KU is September 30th. Okay. KU game is September 30th. We win the game. And the second half, the defense makes adjustments. On offense, we execute. But it's funny you say that, Barry, because now I want you to read the excerpt. When you read the excerpt, you're going to understand the mistakes we made in that game they were on par with the mistakes we had made in 99. And at the end of that game, we're in the locker room and Bob calls a play. I'm just going to say that. So if you read the excerpt, you'll actually see the actual intro into how Red October starts. It literally starts in the locker room after the Kansas game. And that's the first excerpt. It's the first excerpt.
Wow. Guys, go check that out while we do this. I'm going to try and have that pulled up for the end of the show. And we'll do that right at the end of the show. That will be cool. Funny enough, D-Mack, that was, as I think I was like 10 or 11. That was the only game I went to that year and saw you guys play. I sat in what side would that have been? That like over where you guys would come out of the tunnel
Oh
on
yeah.
that east side, like where like Scissorhands sits now, and some of those
Mhm.
guys like that kind of area, just up a little higher. And with a bunch of KU, it was almost like the visitor section was kind
Mhm.
of there back,
Mhm.
right? So that's where the band was for the visitors, if I remember right.
Right.
Uh, just very interesting. And I remember that game, and just that it was a football game for a large chunk.
They had to lead.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a game where there were mistakes. There were, I think that you guys had a couple turnovers in that game, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Very interesting. Now I'm curious to go see that. And
That's crazy you brought that up. That's the game that changed the season.
that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
Yeah.
to
True
check it
story.
out before we get out of the show today. And D-Mac, back then, the fan experience was, just you guys on the field. The bells and whistles weren't a big deal then, but the bells and whistles are a big deal now. And before we hop into the Mizzou game, we've got to talk about the announcement that OU makes today. Press box side renovations, a 7,000 seat reduction, but believe 4,000 seat occupancy increase when it comes to the suites, the luxury seating, things that are going to bring in companies, organizations, big
Yep.
donors. And if you guys haven't checked it out, I posted my 2 cents over there on X, and it was a little bit of a hot take. And sometimes in these situations, that we have to juggle what is the reality of college football today versus, what does the average fan who's having to buy a ticket, go to the game, like, there's a balance now that these organizations, really, like universities, yes, but they are football organizations that have to generate money and generate salary money for these players, and to keep up with the Joneses, especially in the SEC. So I'll go into kind of what I thought in a second, DMAC, but just on your initial take of the renovations, what it means in the big picture of things with moving forward. How do you feel about it all?
Yeah, mixed feelings. I mean, I come up in a day and age where the total number of people in the building was a big deal. Obviously, student sections going crazy, people standing up the entire game. Um, However, we have moved into just big business. And I mean, it boils down to this, right? There's a bottom line number that the program needs to hit, the school needs to hit in order to justify the squeeze. And so, um, yeah, if this move makes us more solvent, makes us more profitable, puts the program in a better position because we are we're a nonprofit per se, right? It's a nonprofit organization, a college, a school. So if this is going to allow for us to have more infrastructure, you know, um, employees, salaried individuals, that part of it, I understand, and I wonder how much NIL, player salaries, exorbitant coaches salaries, all those come into play. But here's the thing that I think when I reduce it down to lowest terms, Barry. I remember when I was at OU, it was a big thing to be on the wait list. Everybody talked about the wait list to get tickets, right? Well, in 2025, um, OU plays Alabama in a stadium that I think sits 105 or 106, and there's seats available. Right? It's not a packed house. It's sold out, but it's not a
Mhm.
packed house. OU often plays in games where we are sold out, but there's 3, 4, 5,000 seats either on the eastern upper deck or in the back side of the bowl, where you can see pretty early in the game there are seats available. And so, as much as I, as a fan, want us to say we have 100+ thousand at our games, which I'm sure there's 3 or 4 games a year that will probably happen, the supply, or excuse me, the demand doesn't match supply in 2025. So to increase the stadium, which could cost 10, 20, 30, $50 million, with no guarantee that butts are going to be in seats, would I prefer to have 91,000 with a packed house and the people that are going to be buttering the bread that pays for the program, taken care of? By the way, hopefully I can sneak my way or schmooze my way or connect my way, network my way into some of those conversations. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, my heart of hearts, my heart says it sucks. I think we're taking away the heart in the game. In America, we chose a capitalistic model for business. And in capitalism, if it's good for business, then it's good for what's happening. We have to understand the players want a bigger piece of the pie. The coaches get paid a bigger piece of the pie. The operational infrastructure staff pays for a piece of the pie. The marketing that goes into it needs a bigger piece of the pie. The pie has to get bigger in order for it to make sense. And so this is their way of doing that. That's really how I look at it.
Yeah, so here is my take on the deal, and it's a little different. It's not in total disagreement, but I do think there is a little bit of tone deafness, right? And we're seeing it in the comments. You do a 7,000 seat reduction of the normal fan seat. To me, it looks bad from
sure.
a optics standpoint. You're telling the average fan, which is what I'd say 95, 96% of your fan base, right? I mean,
If not more, if not
if not
98.
more, yeah. So it looks bad. You have families, Damian, that have to save up an entire year. If you got 2 or 3 kids that you're taking to the game, which a lot of families do. Childcare costs a lot of money. You know, kids want to be able to come to those games. OU puts a lot into making those games fun for the kids with the stuff before, the stuff after. The goal is for it to be a family thing. I think the optics of that look bad. And there's so many other things, man. There's the video board, you know, opposite, was that the north end zone, right? I believe
South
the
end zone.
south
You talking
end
about the
zone,
small one or the
the
big one?
small one, the small
That's the
one.
north. That's the
Got
north
to
end
get
zone.
improved. The audio has to be improved. The press box, which will be improved with this,
Right.
was a big deal. But I think when fans thought of press box improvement, you know, game experience improvement, they didn't think, golly, you're reducing the size by 7,000. And also there's a little bit of just fan pride that goes into our stadium seats 90,000, our stadium seats 95,000, right? I'll tell you this, they can't go below, and I don't think they will. They can't go below that 80,000 number. It just looks bad on paper to say 78.5 or, you know, whatever the case may be. You don't want that, right? It was 75,000 for years,
Yep.
right? All through the middle and back half of the Switzer era into when you guys played until
Yep.
03 when they do the big expansion. And it just looks bad from an optics standpoint, in my opinion. It's just not, with everything else that still needs to be improved. The Wi-Fi could still be improved. The seats in the stadium could still be improved. The sound, the Auburn game that I was at, D-Mack, was horrendous. Gerald McCoy is trying to get the fans hyped. He's trying to get the stadium live up there on the board, and you can't even hear what he's saying. It was miserable. It was like GK screaming about something. We don't know what it is, but he looks excited. All right, go Sooners. And it just was not what it should be. And then the players, you had Marvin Jones Jr. talking about it, saying he went to Alabama and the experience was a little, it left a lot to be desired over here in Norman. They said the tradition was super dope, and the size of the stadium, regardless of the handful of empty seats, was a big deal. So in my opinion, it's just a little tone deaf. I get it. You have to afford where college football is going, but I think fans also look at that and say, You've gotten big money out of the SEC move. These TV deals are massive. You're getting all this money. Why are you still charging us an arm and a leg for tickets where the experience is still not great? And now you're going to reduce the opportunity and essentially increase demand of those seats, which maybe that is OU's goal,
Intention.
is to increase a little demand. So I think long term, it probably all turns out okay and ends up being a big, to do about nothing. But I do think in the upcoming pressers that Castiglione, Harris, some of the people involved, I think are going to have to walk a couple of things back, or at least smooth out the optics, if you will, of this thing in order to make it a little bit more palatable for your average fan who's, it can't even afford a home in this day and age on a just normal salary. And now you're saying we're going to, change your entertainment, the one thing you look forward to in a given year. So that's just my take on it, D-Mack. Any comments
Let
on
me say
that?
this. Yeah, I got one take. We need to win some more damn football games. So winning cures all. If we start winning more games, by the way, I sympathize with the price. I don't know why we charge so much more than other colleges. That's ridiculous. We got to do something about that. But the program has been sour for a decade, and I'd say that the last 5 years prior to BV, offensively we were a juggernaut, but people loathed the defense, Mike Stoops and whatever buddies. What's up with us and these Wazoo guys? Other buddy was from Wazoo. I just thought about that.
Great. I never connected that. Yeah.
Like what is that all about, right? But I listen. Here's what I know. The suites were gonna happen. Everybody knows it. I think the big issue today that we all want to complain about is the reduction in seats. I would be willing to bet that they have a plan in place, assuming we win, of what that looks like. Because if we win, it'll increase capacity and people wanting to buy and demand and all those things anyway. So I am okay with that because, like I always say, you go to OU to sign up to play for championships. You go to OU to sign up to play to win, right? And so I do believe. Here's how I look at it, and I don't know. I guess maybe I'm trying to, I don't know, make lemonades out of lemons. But I look at it as if to say we've had a huge deficit with suites for a long time. And I even remember they tried to like double the Santee Lounge as suites, but it wasn't designed to be exclusive seats or suites, right? It's a big, like banquet space is essentially what Santee Lounge is. So in my mind, it seems to me like they're like, hey, let's knock this out, state of the art, in a way where if we need to expand again, we can. Because I can't. I think I told you this when I went to the Tennessee game. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Norman, Norman ain't on this level. Like it was
Yep.
different.
I remember that. Yeah.
Tennessee was different, right? In fact, I'll be there next Saturday for Tennessee Vandy. I can imagine when we went to Bryant Denny back in 2003, Rory and I, we went to the game. And even then, I don't think they had 100 yet. They were like 88 or whatever before their last Reno, it was different. So,
yeah.
It's good. It's good we're there because we have something to compare ourselves to. I think the way we need to look at this, and I'm just saying this in my own, maybe I'm just devil's advocate, is we had a huge need for adding more luxury suites anyway. So this is kind of the means to get to the meat, which is if OU doesn't have a plan to get to 100K, and maybe to your point, I think it should have been, hey guys, this is phase 2.
Yeah.
In the midst of phase 3, which phase 3 increases, right, the general populace experience and gets us to 101. I think that would have been a better way to market it because I've had conversations with people who say they flat out want to get another $55 million to make the next expansion. Like I think the number that I was told to me was either 55 or 65 million to do the expansion. So I know there is a conversation behind the scenes about it. They probably just need to market it more, and then I think we need to show that we're going to win more.
You need to show that you're going to win more. And then when that happens, a handful of things got to get fixed, and I'm gonna list them here again. Sound system is a massive
It's
deal.
trash. It's
It
trash.
is god awful. It is, and to me, that's one off season to fix, man. Bring in some audio
Yeah.
guys and
Yeah.
just call it a day. I don't know why that's complicated. You have to fix the Wi-Fi, the access to the Wi-Fi, the way that works within the stadium. And a big one, D-Mack, you don't experience this because you're the former player. You got, kind of where you go into the game. But for the average fan who's not in the suite, the rush of funneling people into the game and the ticket handling and the way the lines are done, it is awful. You ever
Really.
seen? Yes, it is horrendous. At the Auburn game, you had people shoulder to shoulder. There was no line, and it was like this at every gate. Shoulder to shoulder, no line, no strategy. People funneling over here, moving over there. And I've always gotten into games early. That was the one game that I got there a little bit later, and I was blown away at how truly god awful it was.
Yeah, we have a
And
designated gate. We have a designated gate, and I'm texting somebody like, "Hey, I'm here. Somebody come get me."
yeah,
They come get me and take us up.
yeah, that ain't like that for the average fan. They're neck and neck with some sweaty guy
That's
who's got a number one foam finger, hasn't showered in 2 days, and his
I'd go
wife
home,
is
bro.
at home, bro.
I'm all about quality of life. I'd go home. That's not gonna work for me.
That's
It's
why
not
I
gonna
get
work.
there early. I'm like, we'll watch the punters and the kickers. Let's have a good time. Speaking of kicking, D-Mack could be insanely important in this
Oh
upcoming
yeah.
matchup against Missouri. Tate Sandell, we've talked about him. I keep seeing all these notes on X of why Sandell needs to win the Groza, why he's the number. Is this really a discussion at this point in the season? Unless he goes out and just craps the bed in the final 2 games, I don't know if there has ever been a shoe-in for kicker of the year like Tate Sandell. He is having, I guess, Janikowski at FSU had a year like
Yeah.
this when he played. You've had a few guys here and there. I know Florida State had another kicker in like 2013, 14 who was really good during the Winston years, and he helped win them some games. But Sandell has been hugely important, and we know that special teams is going to be a big deal in this one.
Yeah.
I think the over under is 42 and a half for 42, like around that range. This game feels like one that still could hit the under with how both offenses have played. Prabula possibly making a return. So thinking of John Mateer coming back for the Texas game, you're going to have, limited mobility. He's coming off of an ankle. Mizzou's probably not scoring a ton of points. Their goal is going to be muddy the game up, run the ball, and try to limit OU's opportunities through the way they play defense and the way they play offense. So, D-Mack, when you're looking at this one and just having experience as a player, being at the tail end of a season where you have a championship opportunity on the line, and you guys, even at 9 and 10 and 0 with those final 2 games left against Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, which weren't necessarily easy. Oklahoma State for sure, but
No.
Tech was not an easy game either. You got Cliff Kingsbury, Wes Welker, those guys were on that squad, and you look back, what was the mindset and what do these players have to implement or think about as they go into this final stretch?
Yeah, we beat A&M, and it was all about winning advance, a 1-0 season, a 1-0 season. I just love that's what I mean, right? It really clicked last week after we beat Alabama. Like, yo, we've got 2 1-0 seasons, and if guys understand, if we go 1-0 and 1-0, we are hosting a home game in Norman, new precedent. You guys talking about 100K fans? We need to win these 2 games. Let's get a home playoff game at night in December. Unprecedented, never been done before. Oh, Barry, did you see the thread? Sorry, it's kind of a sidebar, but it's par for the course. And some of the people in the chat are gonna like this. Did you see the thread on OUI talking about the fourth quarter song?
Yes.
Did you see the song that they want? Bro, is that real? They're really talking about Mini Men? If they play,
That's dope. Yes.
first of all, if they play that song, every person in the crowd can learn that song.
100%.
It's a sing along. Many men wish death upon me, blood in my eye, dog, and I can't see. I'm
Oh,
trying to
man.
be who I'm destined to be, and suckers trying to take my life. Can you imagine if they sang that? Oh my God!
I didn't even think about the
Oh,
sing-along aspect, dude.
oh,
Oh, you talk
oh,
about the players, like, if
oh,
you were a player on the field, D-Mack,
oh,
and your mantra is, hard to
bro.
kill,
Yes, and
buddy.
you tell Grandpa, you gotta learn the words, Grandpa. Grandpa singing the words. That would be sick. But I mean, the real words you can't say them. Just FYI. But no, we go into Mizzou. I like the way the schedule sets up. We talked about this all October. We talked about this after the Texas loss. We talked about this after the Ole Miss loss. We find a way to beat Tennessee and then find a way to beat Bama. We set ourselves up to at 10-2 still make the offs. Mizzou coming off the quarterback change, morning game, so we get to get up. You know what I'm saying? I like it. Those are the games. I don't want to wait all day, anxiety, watch everybody else. I want to play early, let everybody know we took care of business. The keys to the game, and we'll talk about this at the end of the show, we just can't turn the ball over.
Mhm.
We talked about it in the post pod after Bama, and I started to make the rationalization around maybe BV is just telling them, like, don't screw this up. We got a bona fide defense. We got the best kicker in America, right? We've been on the plus side of the turnover margin the last 3 weeks, or last 2 weeks, excuse me, right? Like, let's keep that formula. And then really just Mateer, when the play is there, throw a strike. Like, if he could just throw a strike, you wouldn't hear me say nothing.
Yeah.
3rd and 5, we run the flood into the boundary, and the play you queue up on X, just hit the damn strike. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We call the double post, and there's an in cut coming by. Just hit the in cut. Don't throw it 3 yards behind him. If he can do that, guys, we're good enough to play with anybody. And we could get hot. We could theoretically get hot and win the Natty. Like, I'm being logically possible. It's logically possible for us to win the Natty. So, Barry, tomorrow, come out the gates focused. We've got to put pressure on the quarterback. I hope they play their starter. That'd be stupid. But put pressure on the quarterback, and we can't turn the ball over. We win the turnover margin tomorrow, we're going to win. For sure.
Man, just that you touched on it, to harken back to the Bama game, that there's still a handful of things on the offensive side of the ball that you do wonder. Mizzou has talent on defense, and they do have a really good defense. I did hear a stat, though, that when they do give up plays, so Missouri limits that they limit explosive plays to a degree. They're one of the better teams, but when they give up explosives, they're massive. They're 40-plus yard explosive plays. So if you're Oklahoma, that you did have these against Ole Miss, right? Against Ole Miss, when you needed that level of offense, you were able to produce, and you're a Satania fumble away from winning that game, and you possibly going in with a bye week in the playoff. Like, OU is an Ole Miss win from being top 4, right? Because they now will have the Bama win, Tennessee win, and the Michigan win.
And they would have had the Ole Miss win.
Would have had the Ole Miss.
And Bama beat Georgia, so we would have been ahead of Georgia.
Yeah. So this team is, I think they're a little better than even the better's maybe the wrong word, but
Yeah.
this is a more capable team than maybe we have realized this season. And defense is the great equalizer, right? We said it for years when the offense was so bad. Well, when you cannot keep the other team from scoring points. Point scoring is just such a different thing, right? Because if you can hold the team to 0 and you get 3,
Yeah.
you win
You
the
win.
game.
You win. Yeah.
And the defense is so much better. This is a little anecdote, but I was doing some stuff for OUInsider, and it led me back to watching PJ's first year, PJ
Mm,
Adebawore, because
mhm.
in the Bama game, guys, the OU's strength staff and Miguel Chavis need massive kudos for what they have done with his body. There's still some elements of his game, D-Mack, that where he's a little stiff and
High
just
hipped.
he's high hipped, so it's tough. But man, when you go back and watch his first game against Cincinnati back, I think it was 23, and watch him play, it's like 2 different guys that they're not even in the same stratosphere in terms of balance, mobility, technique. Just he looked like a dude then, but he didn't look like a guy who is a potential game changer in the rotation like he does now. And the way he moves is so much different. He plays lower, he plays more on balance, he's much stronger, and that's a testament to the strength staff and to the coaching. It is massive. But the biggest thing that stood out was the playmaking ability on the defensive side of the ball, and just how fast OU recovers now, how quickly they cancel things and take things away versus then, and just how much easy yardage was available. Watching a freshman Gentry and a upperclassman Woody Washington at the cornerback position, and then seeing Key Lawrence and the other gent who was at safety that last year, it is absolutely a breath of fresh air. Stutzman was on that team. Kanik was playing backer on that team. You know, he had a few. It was the Cincinnati game I was watching. He had a few run throughs through the B gap where he almost gets home but misses the tackle in the backfield. Now there's one less defender at the second level, and they're just running free. So there was a bunch of good stuff. But OU has improved themselves to a championship defense, D-Mac.
Yeah.
And they're a defense that against the run game this season have been phenomenal. Even by Bama standards, which their run game wasn't good, OU held them in check and limited all of those explosive plays. So now you're going into this one against Missouri, who is they're a heavy dose of outside zone. That they run some power. They have a running back who really understands patience and understands where the cutback is and how to turn what could be a 2 or 3 yard loss by just being patient here, stepping here, keeping the eyes over here, but then going here. He understands how to turn those possible negatives into big gainers. And because of that, your backers will have to be disciplined. Your third level defenders have to be disciplined. So if you're the Sooner defense going into this one, and you don't necessarily have to concern yourself a ton with the mobility of the quarterback, you know, hopefully he doesn't get in there and all of a sudden he's Johnny Manziel back from the injury, you know, and moving around. I don't think that will be the case. I think the Mateer Texas comp is probably a little more apropos,
Let's
but
hope.
but but what does the defense need to do in preparation for this, D-Mac, to carry the load? Because they're going to be the load carriers down the stretch now.
I think it's important that we stay within the scope of who we are. We don't need a lot of guys trying to be heroes. Um, I remember, I want to say maybe it was Iowa State, BV's first year. And I want to say it was Billy and probably Key Lawrence. Do you remember that game? And they had this like bounty for who could get the most picks. And because they were hunting interceptions, we had like 2 70-yard touchdowns on plays where they could just have made the tackle, but they were trying to get the angle for to step in front of the ball, and they missed literally twice in that game.
Mm-hmm.
And twice in that game because your safety's out trying to be more than they can be. there's no one behind them, and the guy scores. I'm talking about like an 86 slot receiver dude takes it 60, 70 yards on us, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it's important. This game is gonna really, somebody said it in the chat earlier, this game is gonna really personify BV. A lot of people have talked about his game management, his situational football, really the operations of being a CEO of a program, where you look at a guy like Kirby Smart, who knows how to push the buttons correctly. Saban was well known for being a guy who knew how to construct a victory, clock, down and distance, when to run action, when to run the ball, when to suck the clock, right? All those different things, right? I think this is a game, and next week after this one, that is going to allow us as fans to see how he constructs victory. There's probably a 25% chance that we dominate the game and we win by over a score. We're comfortably ahead for most of the game. We have an opportunity to score some points while we are consistently stopping their run game. And then, right, on the offensive side of the ball, we have some ball control and some big plays and things of that nature, and we win the turnover margin. But there's probably a 50 to 60% chance the game is going to hinge on our defense not making a mistake that puts our offense with deep anxiety. The one thing our fans don't want to see tomorrow is the defense is not able to stop the run and the offense is still in muddy waters, right? That's trouble for us. Holy crap. Now we got to hope Mateer can figure it out, right? So on the defensive side of the ball, the beauty about this team is our best unit is our front, and fronts travel. And our front has played against some of the best units in college football. Tennessee has an amazing unit. Ole Miss has an amazing unit. Alabama, in its own right, has a really solid unit. Texas has, no, they don't. Michigan has shown to be a team who can run the football against anyone. Our front knows how to play in the games that matter. We've just got to be able to shut them down. What's going to matter, here it is. Can we stop them with a 42 and the cheetah coming into the C gap? If we can stop them and still keep shell coverage behind us, all right, where you've either got Kendall coming down or RSJ coming down, and the coverage behind it is rotating, you got too high, too low, we're going to be in good shape, because there's always going to be somebody to make sure a big play doesn't happen. If we got to go single high, which I would prefer us to go single high, put 7.5 to 8 in the box, and trust our corners to make plays, because they don't have a Luther Burden this year. They don't
Not
have
this
one.
year. No.
Yeah. So if our corners have to hold up, I'd prefer to stop the running back and make them have to beat us with the pass, and our pressure and our depth on the defensive line can salute to whoever just ordered that book. I appreciate that. Whoever can do that, that's going to be the bigger piece. So defensively, we can't be trying to be Superman, trying to be super cool. We don't need that. We don't need that tomorrow. Play sound football, tackle well, all right, and make smart decisions on third down, and then put pressure on the quarterback. Period. Put them in readily and available passing downs where we know they've got to throw the football, and punish him. He needs to get punished tomorrow. With all due respect, hey, bro, you dislocated your ankle like 3 weeks ago? Nah, bro. Football is not a chancy's game. We're going to test that ankle out. We're not going to do anything illegal, anything dirty, but you got a bad wheel, we coming for your wheel. That's just the way it goes. We have got to put some pressure on him so that he's not comfortable.
In my opinion, D-Mack, that this really is a game of OU dictating where the season goes, with the intensity level, with the intentionality, if you will, of what they want to do. Do they want to be a team that, against, won't say inferior competition, but teams that aren't on the echelon of the last 3 games you've just played? Yeah, and not to take them for granted, but do you want to barely scrape by, or do you want to go out and dominate these football games and have some momentum, gain some confidence? And to
Right.
me, that this feels like the opportunity to solidify who you are. And this is the SEC too. If OU goes out and dominates these next 2 weeks, yes, what happens ahead of them in the rankings matters, but I could totally see them if they dominate the next 2 weeks, jump into 7, maybe jump into 6, right? And not that it matters in the overall scheme of things, but now you're talking about a possibly more favorable matchup, maybe not playing a Notre Dame, maybe having a chance to play, somebody who's a little more on the fringe where you have a better chance of getting through that first week. So you just never you have not been able to predict what Venables teams are going to do in these situations. And to me, as it was said in the chat, as you alluded to, that this is a game where you decide if you're a championship program or not. I do remember this when you guys played Texas Tech. I think the offense came out and sputtered on the first drive, but then Thatcher gets the interception and takes it for a score, and that was what initiated the tide, if you will. You guys win 27-13 and essentially shut Cliff down for the whole game. And the offense never had to be great. You end up putting 20 points up on the board. So I think that this team has a chance to do it. I want to talk a little bit about the injury report because it comes out. You got a bunch of guys who are not listed on there, and you got some important guys like your RMTs as questionable, right? You have quite a few less doubtfuls, and
Yeah.
the running back position though is going to be the most interesting piece. Rob, I don't know if there's any chance based on the hit he took and the amount of time that he spent in the injury tent that he's 100%. I think anytime you take a shot on the leg like that and your knee is hit, regardless what it is, he like didn't tear anything. He didn't
Right.
have any, irreparable damage, nothing that is, potentially going to cost him a week or two of playing, but it is going to hurt. It is going to be something he has to play through. And Blaylock, we know since early in the season, has dealt with shoulder stuff, dealt with just some torso things, some soreness. It kind of like Gentry on the defensive side of the ball with how Blaylock likes to deliver the blows. It's
Bro.
He's got to learn how to cool it on that. And then he has tempered it to some degree, but he also hasn't had as many snaps, and
Yeah.
that's been another piece of him not subjecting that shoulder to the amount of damage. But the third string back that I've heard and I've seen Parker and Brandon allude to it, the guy who's gotten the most of those third team reps has been Gabe Sawchuk. So before we get to how you think the running back scenario is going to actually play out, I want to get your take on that and the fact that Barnes and Ott are essentially, and Tatum to a degree, right? Essentially, no chance that those guys are going to be big carries in any of these last two games. So you hear that, D-Mack, and you know the amount of nil money that has been allocated to these three guys. What are your thoughts there, and how do you see the running back rotation playing out?
You want the half empty or the half full approach?
Let's go half empty. Well, we've been very positive about this Sooner team thus far today, given our standards, on this show.
I think the immediate thing to consider is if you've ever played the game called spades, right? So like when I was in college, we used to play spades all the time in the dorms. And by the way, serious spades tournaments, like put your weekend check up. And the weekend check was only $28, but that $28 fed you Saturday and Sunday. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me tell you. Now, granted, there were other ways to get fed. Don't get it twisted, right? There were different things you could do to make sure you could eat. But that was our money, and I'm not giving you my money. This is my money. Well, those spades games always boil down to us and them. And us was me and my partner. And everybody else who happened to be around during that day, if we're having a tournament or a winner takes all or whatever the case may be, y'all them. Us is me and my partner. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it seems to me like there is a bunker and the team says, hey guys, everybody who's 100% in goes in the bunker. Who's the us? And if you 99.999999 or less, you're outside. And so I think, in a way of saying it without saying it, those guys have just not met the standard of what is the expectations are to be successful and really to be a contribution to the team. So my good mama says don't cuss. But when you're in the middle of a season, with all due respect, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but it's F them. Like right now, it's F them. Because we have a goal that it's the 1/1 millionth of a percent that is the difference between wins and losses in those games. You can't have the guy who's going to have 1 second guess. You can't have the guy who's going to be a victim. You can't have the guy who's going to be a demonizer. You can't have the guy who's going to be a cancer. You just can't afford to do it, right? BV has a chance. Somebody said at the beginning, the chat was like, oh, BV is a B. At Oklahoma, you got Bud, you got Benny, you got Barry, you got Bob, right? Like we have Brent has the B thing going for him. You know what I'm saying? Like this is a pivotal opportunity season situation where he can't risk. If it were me, I would have loved to see Ott, right? The economics say, hey, bro, you got paid. Get your ass in there and run the football. To me, that makes logical sense, but it takes me back to Spades. Andre Woolfolk was my guy. Like me and Dre was my best friend outside of Roy in the dorms. But if Dre wasn't my partner, hey, bro, you them. You're them. Jay Hunt, you're them. So when you in a binary world where you're looking at what is going to be the least amount of variables to get us to the destination that we desire, you got to kick them folk. It's not necessarily disrespect. I'm putting a disrespectful connotation on it, but it definitely is like, we don't got time for you right now. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a distraction. And so when you hear things like that, where who's getting paid, rumor has it more than $500,000, they're paying you more than $500,000 to not show up. Think about that.
Man.
Barnes, you had an owie 6 weeks ago, and every week you're out. Now, granted, he got recruited over and somebody told him, hey, bro, you're not good enough anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm assuming. I'm not telling you conversations that I've heard firsthand, but we've all seen what he can and can't do. And it's just not good enough at the caliber of what we need. Salute. Tatum was the #1 running back in America, and you can't break the starting lineup with a true freshman and a redshirt freshman, who the redshirt freshman you were ahead of last year?
Buddy.
The Spades analogy is what it is, right? If you're not with us, you're against us. And so with 2 games to go, 2 1-week seasons, we just can't afford to have a dude who on a Thursday practice doesn't wear the right equipment. We're in shells and he doesn't have shoulder pads on. We have a meeting at 1:30 and he walks in at 1:32. The rule is no gum in the locker room and he's chewing gum or sunflower seeds. Like, bro, you don't even meet the standard. Like, those are the things that, what they say, how you do anything is how you do everything. How you do anything is how you do everything. And so this is speculation, but just knowing Coach BV, just knowing the standard at OU, just knowing what's on the line when you're playing for championships. I was a guy who like, hey, bro, I don't think we could trust you, dog. To his face. I'm to your face. Like, bro, you ain't practicing. Like, we'll catch you on a Tuesday. Like, hey, bro, just go sit down because these reps is trash. Like, your reps are trash. And so the rumors we hear, the sulking, the complaining, the, willfully not taking reps, I think those all culminate to the end of the season saying, okay, we know who our guys are. We're going to rock with true freshman, the redshirt freshman, and the little bro. I think he's a true freshman or redshirt freshman too.
Yeah.
That's what you got to start with. So, I respect it.
Well, I mean, in this one, D-Mack, as I said, you're not going up against a team who's got the same offensive firepower as Alabama did, regardless of how good their running game is. The top shelf outside of their back is just not the same big play threat that you saw a week ago. Now, you hope because of that, they don't look at the film and let their guard down. You hope there's not some just reading your own press clippings, if you will, to throw that cliche out there. You hope there is none of that after catching 2 big wins on the road,
Yeah.
that there needs to be the vibe of you're back in Norman, that you're about to play. And the mantra really needs to be, we're about to play 3 straight games in Norman because of what we do on the field.
That's so
That
sexy.
that needs to be the thought of the team, is based on what is about to happen in these next 2 weeks. We're going to give these fans an experience that they have never had, and we're going to take Oklahoma into this next phase of dominance. But because with the way Venables has recruited on that defensive side of the ball, man, if they start and not really start, if they finish this thing on the winning side, even just go around into the playoff with how Venables recruits and being able to show players what really what were the issues, and he starts bringing in offensive premier talent at the receiver position, especially in the portal. You go get a guy like a Coleman, you go get a guy like, one of these top shelf Gunner Stockton type quarterbacks, right? You go get a guy like that. Now all of a sudden you're talking about, the being a Georgia who, yes, that it took a year or 2 off, but right now I think personally, they're the best team in college football, and that's with A&M, that's with Ohio State. I think Georgia would have a tough time losing to any of those teams. I think they're a touchdown better right now than everybody else in the top 10. And I think they can be beat, they can be had, but they right now are playing some of the best football out there. So you look at this matchup, D-Mack, and we've talked about backs, we've talked about defense. Keys to the game. Wrap this thing up in a nutshell of, for OU to win and win comfortably, right? That what I have seen is everybody is taking Oklahoma straight up on the game prediction, but everybody's taking Mizzou in the points. And nobody thinks OU is going to cover the 7.5 point spread. For this team to realistically go out there and do that, what does the game plan need to look like? How does OU strategically get back to doing what they did in the first few weeks, where they do stretch the field? You're hitting the digs, you're hitting some of the more deep and medium intermediate stuff down the field. You're actually making that the third level part of the defense second guess what they're going to do, right? And not play 8 yards off the ball and just think run all game, right? How does that get done in this one? And how does OU stretch the lead and actually separate like they did in the Carolina game?
I think it's essential tomorrow. OU makes it very clear early that we can pass the ball. If OU can show that on early downs, we can connect on quick game, nakeds, just not a huge. You've got to have a quarterback that shows they're really good with RPOs. And I know Mateer was at Wazoo. He just hasn't been extremely effective running and or pulling to throw on RPOs. He just hasn't been. It's not mandatory to run RPO action. You can run play action. You can run sprint action. You can run naked, which is a type of action, without doing an RPO and keep rhythm. And so I'm going to be paying close attention to our ability on early downs to complete the ball. And I'm not talking about those stupid ass edge screens that we can't block anyway. How do we have 6'2" receivers who can't block, but everybody else has 6'2" receivers who punk our DBs? Anyway, let me not rant. So passing the ball on early downs. That's number one. Okay. Number two is that really leads into being two-dimensional. I hope Arbuckle calls a game plan where me as a fan am not 70% correct on if it's a pass run. Because if I'm not game planning, watching film all week and, going through the strategy sheet Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice, and I can guess 80% of the time, then imagine how well the defense can guess, right? So I want to, and again, you bring up Georgia. I don't think they're the best team in America, but I would not have an issue with anybody who says so. I understand why you say it, and they have the best coaching, right? Situational football, operational tactics, right? Surprise on side, like just the things that they do to put their players in position to be successful. It's sky high. And I think that's worth probably a touchdown a game or a possession a game. Texas could have beat them last week. Texas scores to go down by 4. Georgia goes for 2 fourth downs, 1 4th and 1 and 2, 1 or 2, or 1 like 4th and 5 consecutively, because Kirby Smart knows Texas is getting momentum. If we give the ball back, they could seize it. I trust my offense. He goes for it twice on 4th down. They get both. They go down and score. They go up 11. Surprise on side. Game over.
Yeah.
The game's over. You don't even have to worry about the game. Game's over. We go up by 9 in Tennessee, and we almost give the game away.
Yeah.
So that aspect of the game, right? I want to see us play correct situational football, the operational tactics. We're up by 7, 3 minutes left in the half. Can we sustain a drive so that the half ends with us kicking a field goal or going in for a touchdown? Not that we do hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. They get the ball back or 1 minute and 57 seconds, and then they go kick a field goal or score a TD and then get the ball back, right? Can we effectively win those last 4 minutes, 3 minutes before the half? Can we effectively go up 2 scores and put ourselves in a situation where now they've got to gamble just to get back in the game, and that puts the odds on our side? If we win by more than 7.5, the entire country has to say OU's defense is good enough to win a championship. OU special teams is good enough to win a championship if Satania can hold on to the football. If OU's offense is just formidable, Ohio State comes to mind. They won a natty. Our team comes to mind, 2000. They won a natty. Like, you could go down the list of teams. 08, 08 Florida. They had one superstar. I mean, I guess the Hernandez was kind of a dude too. Hernandez was a dude. But Percy Harvin was their guy. They had a quarterback who was as tough as they come, and he pulled them to a natty. So we have the goods. This is a big game for me. This is a big game for Coach. I have the utmost faith in him, but like, we have a game in which we have the better talent. Our quarterback, last week I said there's 9, 10 quarterbacks in the conference I'd pick over Mateer. Mizzou ain't one of them. So we will have the better quarterback in the game, the healthier quarterback in the game. We will have the home field advantage. Once we cross the 35-yard line, we know we pretty much have a shoe-in kick with our special teams. Don't make the mistake, right? And throw the ball in early downs, Barry, and run the football when we need to. We need to be able to, in those situations, it's 3rd and 4. Can we run the football to get 4 yards? Or there's 3 minutes left in the half. There's 3 minutes left in the game. There's 3 minutes left in the quarter. Can we run the football and pick up that first down so we don't have to put a lot of stress on everybody? If these are the type of games where we need to be able to do that.
I watched a ton of film this past week, and I've been fascinated with Mateer and some of the things that I've posted over on OU Insider, which, just to plug, guys, show's brought to you by OU Insider, OUinsider.com. Go over there, get yourself a membership as we finish the back half of this show. I wanted to see if some of Mateer's ghosts, as you call them, D-Mack, were there early in the season. Were they there in the opener? Were they there in the Michigan game? And I can actually confidently say the sidearm element, the jump ball element was there. However, the rushing, the throwing off the back foot, the throwing off of an unstable platform in what is normally a rhythm throw was what was not there. And the decision making was better, right? That there were plays in the RPO against Michigan where Mateer was just confident and rips it, right? It took him a second, but like the throw he has to Kinnick, there were more of those in the Michigan game against a top defense, against a defense that is formidable and talent-wise on par with what they have played thus far in the SEC. And to me, Arbuckle is going to earn his money in this one if he can get Mateer back into some type of rhythm that resembles the early part of the season prior to the thumb injury. One of the things that really stood out to me, and I challenge fans to go watch it, was the amount of double pumping and hesitation that Mateer would do on a lot of the quick game, right? Well, where he would flip, he would hit the fake, or he would do some of the action of the eye candy, flip the feet, and then there's an extra bounce. And in the game of football, if you're going to boil that down to time, that's a half second, right? And in a half second, when a guy's already running full speed, that's a big amount of distance. Your window is gone. That is a DB making up a step. That's an edge player who wouldn't have been out in the flats. He wouldn't have had ground had you not double pumped that. And there were multiple plays in the game where the throw doesn't get batted down and the throw gets to where it needs to be if Mateer just flips the feet and rips it in there. And to me, if Arbuckle can get him to anywhere close to that, the sidearm is just going to be there. You even see it in Hawkins. I went back because I've seen a lot of people talk about Hawkins this past week, and I just don't feel that I don't think he gives them a great chance of winning either, right? And Mateer thus far has been the better choice, and to me has made more explosive plays in kind of the framework of the offense, and has shown he just has better command of what's going on. And it seems that the guys galvanize around him. It seems that he is a locker room leader, and that the players really, that they just genuinely like who he is, and that matters, right? I'm not saying that Hawkins isn't or can't be that, but it seems pretty obvious that Mateer is the guy from what.
Can I say something to that?
Go ahead.
I said this. I guess I said it on 10 Thoughts. I think there is something to be said about a Hawkins package. The red shirt can't be burned. It's just a fact. Okay. So check me out. They're lining up in 42. They're rotating a safety down into the box. We catch them. When you rotate guys into the box, if you catch them same side, so they're in a 42, the safety comes down late, and we run that way, and he picks a gap and we hit the other gap, there's no one there. It's a touchdown. There is something to be said around if we can catch them in that, and we've got a guy who, a la Auburn, gets one crease. And so I said this before, and I would not be opposed to it, Barry. Mateer's coming off an injury. We have to assume they had a Hawkins package that they've been working on for the last 2 or 3 weeks. If they haven't, then if they have not been working a package, then there's nothing to talk about. But if they've been working a package for 2 or 3 weeks, meaning he and the first team, O-line, receivers, there's 6 to 8 plays where if he has to play, these are these plays they're repping and they're getting comfortable. The only concern that I have is protection of the football. Mm-hmm. Can we make sure we protect the ball? But there's I don't see any detriment to putting him in and having a package. I would even double down, and I don't care what anybody else says. I would double down on putting him in and throwing a ball deep. Because guess what's going to happen when they put him in and we run QB draw a few times? They're going to put everybody in the box.
Oh, yeah.
That might, again, let me tell you, that's something Kirby Smart would do. In fact, I believe Kirby Smart did it 2 years ago when Gunnar Stockton was the guy. Beck and Stockton had a deal, and I feel like Beck got hurt but came back for like the playoff game, and they played Gunnar Stockton for some plays because he was a better runner preceding Beck leaving, because I think they knew Gunnar was going to be the guy this year. There's no good reason why we shouldn't do that. Assuming ball security. You put him in a game and he's loosey-goosey, and we got the second, we got this package in and he throws a pick or he fumbles the ball. Oh, that kills us. But if they've been working on a package for 2 or 3 weeks because of the thumb, if Casey can't play, we need to have a QB ready to go. run QB draw 2 times, and then be just a competent OC and run that action and run a curl and go behind it. I'm just telling you, it wouldn't surprise me to see Kirby Smart do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me, that stuff is okay, but to me, in a game like this, it needs to not be where you would likely get it, which is OU is in a pinch, OU needs a big play. It hasn't felt like to me, I want to see that when OU is up 10 and they're, threatening
So
on
we
the
don't get a pick
fringe of red
six.
zone. Yeah.
We don't get a pick six 2 games in a row, and we don't have a kicker who can make 50+ field goals. How do we score? Like,
Yeah.
those are losses. It's not, we didn't win because the offense made it happen. And with all due respect to offense,
It's true.
we have to manufacture points. And as an offensive coordinator, we need to use the weapons at our disposal. And from the a practical standpoint, he's got 2 games left to play. He's got 2 games that he's played in. He now doesn't have to worry about the red shirt. We got to use every bullet in our gun. We're not good enough. Now, let's say the first quarter, Barry, Mateer's killing it. He's throwing strikes.
Yeah.
We don't need a package. But if we are struggling and they have this Hawkins package and he has good ball security, all my point is playing against equal competition. We have not shown offensively that we can consistently be a threat. So all I'm saying is Hawkins goes in the game. What's the other team going to immediately think? Run the ball. They will probably man up. If they don't man up, it's going to make it easier for us to run the ball. And Hawkins is a 2 gears faster than Mateer. 2, right? If he can calm down, I'm just saying, Barry, we lose both games if not for a defensive score and a kicker kicking 50+ yard field goals. If we don't have those 2 things, we're not having this conversation. So as it relates purely to the offense, we've got to get more to the offense. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that is the reality of what the game pressures could potentially be. To me, this game is about can OU get back on track offensively, right? It would be nice to see them not just go out there and quote unquote win the game. To me, any element of dominance, right, a la South Carolina, and I actually have I have the thought that this game with who Mizzou is, they're a better team than South Carolina, and certainly Drinkowitz has much more of a handle on the program at this point than Beamer does over there on the South Carolina side of things. But I think OU talent wise and who they, especially on the defensive side of the ball, if they force any semblance of turnovers, OU has a chance to stretch the lead in this one. When I say a couple touchdowns, right? A couple touchdowns in any of these past 2 games, OU wins comfortably if they get the lead to 2 full scores, to 14 or more points. And I would just love to see the offense get some type of rhythm, have Mateer develop some type of rhythm with the receivers. He's flipping the feet and he's letting the ball loose. He's not hesitating on the runs, right? They do have a 3rd and short, and then you run Hawkins out there on a 3rd and short and you break it off and you go score to go up, 21. That would be, just in my opinion, the best case scenario for a game like this. And then now you've shown playoff games don't count at all against the red shirt thing.
No.
Not at all.
Neither
So
does conference.
neither does. Yeah, that's right. So he can, from this moment on, Hawkins can play as much as he wants. And even within these 2 games, okay. So having the package is great. I think the offensive line has gelled enough, and they have a game here where they're going to play some talented guys, but again, if they can develop a little bit more chemistry and have, even if it's Mateer running a bunch, and that kind of makes me, I don't hate the idea of the package, especially if they feel at any point they've got to have Mateer running the ball a ton, right? If the running back position is an issue, I didn't even consider that element of it. If the running back lineup is not healthy enough and the guys who they are putting in there cannot get it done, you don't want Mateer carrying the ball 25 times. That to me is not a successful way to manage the back half of this season if you want to go win a championship. So that's a killer point, D-Mack. It kind of brings us to where we see this game falling. And in your opinion, I know you don't predict losses. I don't think in any stratosphere do we think this is going to be a loss. But just your feel on the game, your feel of where this Oklahoma team is. Let's get a score prediction for this one. Fans in the chat, in the comments, hit your score down below. Hit your score in the live chat. Let us know what you want to think, what you think, how this thing will turn out. Does OU cover the spread? Over, under 42.5? Does it hit the over? Does it hit the under? D-Mack, your thoughts on this one?
You ready?
Let's go.
I think we win by 17. I think we come out and play sound football. Missouri is limited on offense. If they can't run the football, they're in trouble. I think we prove to them that I know, right? I've been picking close games all year, y'all, so I haven't been picking blowouts. But I believe this game matches up well for us. I believe Missouri is really risking a lot making the quarterback play. It's going to put them in positions to potentially have turnovers, and I think we're going to take advantage of those turnovers and score the ball. I think we score 31, and I think they score 14. And I think this is a game. Let me tell you what happens, guys. I don't think it's going to be close. I think this is a game where our fans leave and say, holy shit, we can win it all. OU wins by 17 with a competent looking offense, and our defense just needs to play ho-hum. Just play like, just play, just do your job. Yeah. Jaden Jackson is a key to the game that we haven't discussed, and his name needs to be mentioned, is Jaden Jackson. If Jaden Jackson is at that 0 or playing that play side nose, it's all the difference in the world in their ability to run the ball and run their outside zone. They want to run outside zone. If we push their center guard combo into the backfield, it makes all the difference in the world. Barry, I think we win 31-14. I think this is a game where we are excited, cautiously excited to see our team start to make some progression, show some growth, right? And like, okay, the makings of an offense. And here's how we're going to know, because all the super fans, you guys are going to agree with me with this part. They're going to stop making excuses for why our opponents lost, and they're going to start. I want to say a derogatory term so bad, but they're going to start jocking us instead of saying something derogatory. They're going to start jocking OU, because OU is a brand we all know. ESPN loves to jock when there's reason to jock. Baker Mayfield comes to mind. The entire time from 2000 to 2008, Oklahoma was the best team in college football. That whole 8-year run. Right? They loved us. And so this is a game. We win by 17. The media changes their stance on us, and that's really important. The recruits are already starting to see and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. But when the media turns back into our favor, we're in the conference now where they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Yes, maybe I'm speaking a little hopium, but the game can bear out that way. So I'm being honest. I am saying we are going to see marketed improvements in one, scheme by Arbuckle, but also 2, execution by Mateer, which we have not seen in a month and a half. I admit that, but it's possible. And I think more importantly, Barry, it's needed. This is how we get the job done. If we don't see this, we're going to go one and done in the playoffs, because both the teams we're going to play against are going to be good enough on both. Everybody's competent on offense outside of us. Go look at the top 12 from BYU to Texas Tech to You obviously the SEC teams, if Miami sneaks in there, you name it, everybody else is going to be able to score points if we can't consistently just possess the ball. So in order for us to be a threat, this is the week we have to just show a competent offense, and I think we can. The quarterback is good enough. The offensive coordinator has shown in his past he's capable of it. Let's just be competent. Let's catch the ball. Let's minimize the turnovers. 31-14. You guys come to the post-game pod excited. Everyone's telling us we're going to kill LSU, and then we're going to have to tell you guys to calm down because LSU can beat us next week. There it is.
So the three numbers, in my opinion, that matter a whole bunch: 34, 27, and 23. Those are the biggest scores that have been put up on Oklahoma this season thus far.
Who
And
scored
those
37 on us?
Or 34, 27, and 23.
Okay.
So and the three things that all of those games had in common: what was a balanced offense, a healthy quarterback, and one of them was a rivalry game. So Ole Miss doesn't put 34 up if OU doesn't turn the ball over, and if Chambliss isn't an all-world Heisman level, right? Not winning the thing, but Heisman level talent, and that their running back now, man, his name escapes me. It shouldn't.
Lacey.
Lacey. Yeah. What Kewen Lacey? Oh man. Anyways.
Keelan Lacey.
Yeah. So you have three, and then Tennessee was the other one, again, where good quarterback, but that was turnover prone, but they also went in with a balanced game plan. And Texas was the other one with Arch, who played his best game of the year, and Sarkisian had a really good plan. These are all also three really good offensive minds: Kiffin, Sark, and Heupel, who had phenomenal game plans for how to go against it. And this is an OU team that is way different than the team Missouri played a year ago. And this Missouri team is way different than the Missouri team that OU played a year ago. They don't have, as you said, a Luther Burden catching passes, right? That they don't have that same level of talent at the receiver position. And it's almost like all of a sudden we've acted like you can go in and beat this OU team and score points on this OU team without having a balanced attack. What did they say about Alabama pregame? If Bama can't, you said it too, if Bama can't run the ball, OU will shut them down. And I actually think this game, kind of in a similar vein, I'm going to go 27-10 is where I think this game will land, which coincidentally enough is also 17. I didn't even think about that. But I think this goes very similar to the Michigan game. And in fact, if OU can leave this game feeling similar to how they left the Michigan game, it does bode well for this team down the stretch to win a championship. It's not a coincidence that both states start with an M, that both got the big M logo. I think it is all too perfect for OU to go out there and shut down the run game, hold him under, which, by the way, the top three defenses, I saw this stat earlier, that Missouri has played this year, they've been held to 68 yards rushing on average. So it's not like Hardy is just all world. This isn't Notre Dame's rushing attack. This isn't, in my opinion, a Jeremiah Love handling the ball, and he can pretty much do anything he wants on the field. They're good. They are very talented. But I think this OU defense stacks up with them very well, talent for talent. OU's defensive line, in my opinion, is better than anything Missouri, any assortment of players that Missouri is going to roll out along the offensive line. And I think the matchup is in OU's favor. and you're wanting to play a quarterback who hasn't played in forever with zero rhythm, no elite receiver. They have good receivers, no elite receivers that are going to consistently win against a Guillory, against a Bowen. And it's not to pump sunshine, because I actually feel still confident about the LSU game, but maybe not quite as confident, just because of LSU's level of playmaker and having a guy like Durham, who Hardy is good, but a guy like Durham, and we'll talk about that next week, especially if OU gets the win here, Durham will take the top off your defense and go 75 and won't think anything of it. It's not that Missouri isn't capable of that, but they want to control clock. They want to beat you up. They want their game, especially with how they've played lately, to be beating you down. So give me 27-10. A couple other games, D-Mack, going on, and then we'll circle back just a second. You've got Oregon playing USC. Quick thoughts on that one, man.
Oregon's going to out-physical them. USC is solid on one side of the ball. They're finesse on the defensive side of the ball. Oregon can play smash mouth on both sides, which Oregon has played nobody. By the way, Missouri's record versus teams with winning records is 0-3. Their record versus everyone else is, I think, whatever they are, 6-5, 6-5-0, or what are they, 7-3 right now? Are they?
Yeah, I think they have. I thought they have 4, but let me double check that.
Well, what are we right now? We're 5-2, 6-2.
So OU's 8. Yeah, OU's 8-2.
Yeah, they're 7-3. They're 7-3.
7-3.
Yeah. So they've got their 3 losses or everybody with the winning record. So there's that. Yeah, I think I think it's going to be a game that boils down to us stopping their run. By the way, Durham is kind of getting his spot took by the true freshman this year. Just FY. LSU's true freshman running back is taking a lot of Durham's reps, and Durham was banged up a bit. But Missouri's got the 2 running backs we need to stop. Period. The defense is going to control the game. I think USC doesn't have enough physicality for Oregon.
I could totally see USC winning this game.
By the way, did you see what happens if USC goes undefeated and we go undefeated? We host them in Norman.
Yep, I saw that.
That would be great.
Oh, dude, if I heard this, I can't remember. I actually think Pate was talking with Drum and brought this up. But do you know how massive it would be for OU? Well, we have to talk about this at least for a second. If you finally, in the year that both teams are at the level, to get Oklahoma and USC, how much that if there is a chance to position them in the playoff rankings, and they say that they don't do that, they will 100% make sure that matchup happens.
Oh, I love it. By the way, there's no players on the team, I don't think, that were recruited or played for Link, though. I think they've all, yeah.
You just have recruits. You had guys who were recruited, like McKenzie and I'm trying to
Kip and those guys, but they all committed to BV.
Yeah, I think McKenzie was the only one.
You're right.
Recruit, who did, but he committed to Link.
He's committed to Link, and he stuck around. When the coaching change happened, he stuck.
Yeah, man. Well, hold on, Chet. Did he flip to Texas after Link left and then flip back for BV? I'm trying to remember.
I think he uncommitted, and then Texas was recruiting him, but I don't think he ever committed to Texas. Somebody said Caden Helms. I think Caden Helms was Caden Helms here for. Was Caden Helms here for Link?
Yes, I think that was it. And then Kip was BV. Kip was one of BV's first offers.
Very first guys.
Yeah. So that one's like a non-starter. And then you've got Miami and Vatech. What do you think? I know we haven't talked a ton of playoff, right? It's not that it feels early, but to me, it like doesn't matter a whole lot until everybody's resume is locked down. That's just always been my thought. But you do have, Bama dropping to 10. them
Yep.
keeping OU ahead of Bama because of the head-to-head.
Yep.
But you've got the Notre Dame Miami situation where Miami, although creeping up a little bit, they are getting absolutely zero credit. And I don't know if Notre Dame has played
They
a
haven't.
much tougher schedule than Miami.
Notre Dame was getting pubbed last week for playing a Pitt team that's terrible. Pitt has been unranked all year because teams have continued to flounder. They had to push Pitt up, but they pushed Pitt up so that Notre Dame could have a ranked opponent. Notre Dame's played nobody. Love has ran for all those yards. Love had to do some Herculean stuff against Boston College. They were barely beating Boston College. So clearly a huge difference in talent and depth and speed and what Notre Dame is currently playing against versus what we are currently playing against. I would say this year, the Big 12 is closer to the Big 10 than the Big 10 is to the SEC.
Interesting.
Tech could go into the Big 10 and be top 3 in the conference.
Agreed.
And potentially and could potentially beat anybody.
Yeah.
BYU
Agreed.
could be Michigan. BYU could be Michigan. BYU's quarterback versus Michigan's quarterback, and both teams run the football. BYU could be Michigan. For sure.
Well, I think it is interesting to see that the Big 12, we won't necessarily belabor this tonight. I know it's get late, but it is interesting to see what the Big 12 has done, because with where they are in a recruiting standpoint, I know the ACC territories are kind of spread out all over the place, but I think it benefits the Big 12 to still be a little bit more localized. You have Florida, though, and you have Texas in the recruiting front. To me, the Big 12 has really positioned itself to be the third conference in
it is.
And to be that for a long time, right? Even you've had Clemson and Miami over there in the ACC and Florida State. But even then, I think the potential of a BYU, of who's always had historically just tough, solid teams. Utah has been consistent, right? They could win the conference.
Cincinnati's one of those guys. Utah's one of those guys. You're right, bro. Like now, I think there's something to be said about blue blood and or second level just below blue blood, where you have a Florida State, Clemson, and a Miami. I don't think either one of those teams can officially call themselves blue blood. It would be like Georgia calling themselves blue blood. Sorry, Georgia, you're little, bro. You're relevant the last 15 years since Kirby Smart. Prior to, you guys had like one natty in 50 years and Herschel Walker. You know what I'm saying? Like that was your history. Kind of like Texas. Texas kills me. But anyway, I digress. The Texas Techs, BYU's, Utah's, they're not at that level, and they don't have a Florida State, Miami, or Clemson pedigree. And even a VTech's down, but the pedigree is there over and beyond a lot of the big time. Or here's the take, Barry. You ready? Here's the take. You ready?
Yeah.
What if we stay back? What if we stayed back and we're in the Big 12 and we're the big boy in this conference? By the way, I like where we are. I love smacking all these SEC teams, and they got to tuck their tail and understand this interlocked OU. I love it. But like, whoa, what would our team look like? It might even be scary because Big 12 is going to score points. Tech is scoring 30 on anybody. As far as I'm concerned, and BYU, they got outclassed by who beat the hell out of them a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. They beat Tech. Oh no! Tech beat the hell out of them.
Yeah,
Arizona. Yeah. It was Tech. Arizona State.
Yeah. Tech smoked them pretty good.
Yeah. Arizona State beat Tech. Anyway, yeah. Big 12's cute, but what would it look like if we had State? We'd be the big boy. We'd be the big brand. They would have to appease us because we're the only brand that garners national attention.
Yeah, I think to kind of play the other side of that is you'd have some of the same scenario that you've had historically prior to that, which was you would then get into the playoff, the 12 team, and maybe it changes because you go 12 teams, so your matchup chances are different, right? You draw an SMU, you draw a whoever. And if you're in the Big 12, maybe you're getting more buys, right? Because you're winning the conference, you're top 4. But you still go to play your Ohio States, your Alabamas, your let's say your Clemsons when they were really good, and you just lack in the key areas that this team, D-Mack, does not lack in, right? Well, which is the toughness department, the high level defensive talent, and the offensive talent that is balanced, and you have guys sprinkled in at every position. It just to me, you still are
You don't have to sell
deficient
me.
when you get in
I'm
those
not
games.
saying
Yeah.
I want to. I'm just saying what if, but I don't think it would impact recruiting because kids want to play for winners. OU would be the biggest brand. If we're kicking ass in the Big 12, I don't think kids would be like, I don't want to go there. The California kids wouldn't care. The Arizona area kids wouldn't care. Maybe some of the Deep South kids would care just because they want to play near their communities. But I don't think because it's not an issue for Tech.
Mm-hmm.
Tech is killing it in recruiting right now. Granted, they've got an open wallet, and obviously the NIL piece is the biggest piece. But anyway, just from a dynamic, I don't want to go too far into that. I'm just saying, what if we had stayed and let Texas go? Like, we'd have an Okie State game where we could sit starters or guys could go pad their stats. We'd have a Colorado game where we could sit starters and guys could go pad their stats. You know what I'm saying? Like, we'd have an Arizona State who's good enough to be dangerous, but we could beat that ass. You know what I mean? Like there would be more games. But anyway, we're not. I love where we are, and I want to put the SEC forever has been Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, LSU, Georgia kind of came up due to Kirby Smart, right?
Yeah.
But like the conference is not as good as they make it. The Ole Misses, Arkansas, Kentucky's, they all beat their chest out and ain't got 2 championships in the entire conference's history. Like, bro, you got two conference championships. Do you know who the 50% team the last 15 years in the Big 12 conference is? Take a guess on who's the 50% team last 15 years.
The 50% team,
won 50% of the conference championships the last 15 years.
It was still Oklahoma.
Is he fucking right?
Yeah.
We
Even being out of the conference for the last 5
Yes.
years or 3 years or whatever.
Yeah. Excuse my French. I'm sorry. The F-bomb came out very naturally. But we own 7.5 conference championships the last 15 years.
Man, that's bananas.
My bad. If you just logged in and you heard me cuss, my bad.
And D-Mack, you know what one of those conference championships were?
What's that?
Your
No.
2000. Oh, the past 15. Oh, well.
Yeah,
For sake of plugging the book, let's talk about your team that won the Big 12, goes on to win the Natty, and you talk about it in Crimson Red October. Talk about it real quick for those who were not on to start the show. I'm going to repost the link right now so people can go grab a copy on the pre-order. Talk about it.
Yeah, guys, working on a book for about the last 6 months. In my opinion, if you listen to our pod because you like our style, you will love the book. All right. And the book is designed to discuss strategy, actual gameplay, actual conversations that align with that season, where you can literally watch the film, the games, and actually see why and or how we did certain things throughout that season. Goes into off season, behind the scenes. It goes into a huge tweak that Bob made. And it's crazy to me that it isn't more publicly discussed. I think it's been discussed kind of like secondhand. I may have heard, but I've never heard anyone intimately discuss the decision Bob made. By the way, it was September 30th after the KU game in the locker room. It's my first excerpt. It's excerpt 1. But it's a passion project of mine. The story behind it is for 10 years or so, I've been doing 10 Thoughts. And for 15 years or so, I've been ranting on the old OUInsider pages. And I just got asked. The publisher said, hey, dude, I want you to write a book. And I had requests and the things that I needed for that to happen. Essentially, I just wanted it to be said from my lens. I didn't want some expert or chat GTP or some other person to try to profit off of this. It needed to be exactly as I remembered. But if you get the chance, it'll be in the description or somebody posted in the chat. The website is crimsonredoctober.com. All right. And it's a landing page. It has a highlight reel. It has an audio message from me. You have a couple blurbs you can read. But within it, there are 2 excerpts. There's 2 excerpts from the book that discuss, and I'm just telling you guys in detail, the conversations, the psychology of what it is we were going throughout that season. And so the book pre-sale will last between now and December 15th. My goal is 1,000 copies. I think we sold over 100 today. First 200 copies I will personally sign and make sure when they're mailed out to you, I sign with a little, message to you saying thank you for the individuals who purchase. But I think for anyone who loves the X's and O's of football, this is a book you're going to enjoy. And it's going to be told from a lens I don't think people have discussed. I sent it to 5 of my teammates, all 5 of them. All 5 of my teammates said, damn, I remember that like it was yesterday. And all 5 of them said, man, people are going to really love the insight. And so that made me proud because, their opinions and recollections matter to me. It's $14.99. It's not a big investment. It's a great opportunity for someone for Christmas or anyone who's a huge fan. And it's something that's been on my heart for a long time. People, a lot of times in the past, people have asked me not necessarily to write a book, but just, to publicize some more of the things that we do. I finally made the time to do it. I am extremely proud of it. I really am. It's something that I wasn't expecting it to turn out the way it did, and looking forward to the Sooner Nation supporting it. Looking forward to the Sooner Nation getting a ton of value out of it.
Man, D-Mack, I'm reading that excerpt. Guys, you got to go and check it out. I was sitting there reading it while you were talking. You have to go look at it. crimsonredoctober.com. Go over there right now. And if you guys aren't on OU Insider, go over there right now. Get yourself a membership. D-Mack posts his 10 thoughts also in the video format over here on the page.
Yeah.
And I've been posting a bunch of content over there. I get some of the, hey, man, quit posting negative stuff. But I'm like, we're watching the game, man. It is, and we are doing analysis. It is fun to do the positive stuff and the positive analysis. But to me, there are so many pods and places where they already do all that. I'd much rather break down the things where you can be great, right? Not to reference the Thunder, but like the Thunder were a team that on the YouTubes and the basketball sphere of things, there were criticisms of, yes, you got SGA. Yes, you've got, this piece and that piece. You're giddy, but here's what the team needs to get over the hump. I'm interested in the get over the hump, not, they won the game, be happy with the win. OU hasn't won a championship in 25 years. So to me, the interest is in what gets you over the hump and gets you to winning a championship. So I think it's fantastic. It's great timing, D-Mack, I think, for the book to be a thing in the landscape of this OU space. And people want to hear stories and hear the intricacies, and I think that's the attraction of the pod. But guys, go over there, get yourself a membership, grab the pre-orders on the book. But as always, Sooner Nation, thank you for listening, and we will see you soon.